И народ, всем привет, меня зовут Джордж, я вас приветствую на своем канале. И я решил, вот только записал, и думаю, сегодня я уже не успею начать стрим. И решил показать дополнительные материалы по игрушке такой замечательной Hellblade Senua Sacrifice. И в общем, сейчас мы такой увидим дневник разработчика, но они там не особо переводят, так что, и тем не менее, думаю, будет интересно. А завтра я уже начну стрим, и мы уже увидим сам геймплей. В общем, начнем просмотр. Ну что, игрушка обещает быть интересной, очень атмосферная, с интересной боевкой, с своими, как говорится, глюками. Ну, глюками в смысле... Короче, все увидим. Погнали.
Stormy seas and lost soul. She's dreamt of this before.
В общем, дополнительные материалы, так сказать. Дневник разработчика.
They say dreams are visions of our memories, thoughts and fears, as seen by our inner eye. What if each one of us is always dreaming, even when awake?
Что у нашей главной героини такой немножко маленький диагноз есть, походу. Отправляется она, как бы аналог ада, Хельмхейм, чтобы спасти душу своего возлюбленного. Используют разработчики очень активно motion capture, физика тела и лица. Hellblade, Senua Sacrifice. Психосис. Короче, у нее...
Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is a video game about Senua, a Celtic warrior on a
видеоигра
vision quest into
про
Viking
Сену.
But what sets our hero Senua apart is that she suffers from severe psychotic mental illness.
Ее жертва Сены. Чем она, короче, должна пожертвовать. Ради чего она?
The original idea for Hellblade was to create a classic hero's journey, a journey of
Они
suffering,
вдохновлялись кельтской мифологией при создании
another
игры
planet or alternate universe, but
и
a world that is
скандинавской.
constructed in Senua's mind. But to do so would mean putting psychotic mental illness at the
Мы
center of
видим
the
эти
experience. A subject
концепт-арт
that is still
по
considered
игре.
taboo, and a challenge that was both terrifying
Поработали
and exciting
художники
in equal
замечательно.
measure. In Hellblade, the starting point was a newly discovered Celtic goddess called Senua
Вот,
in Ashwell,
кельтские
Hertfordshire.
божества
When first discovered, her name was thought to be Senua, a
изучали
name which I liked and kept. I wondered if Senua might have
и
been Celtic warrior
вдохновлялись
like Boudica, who stood up to the
британской
Romans.
и кельтской мифологией.
While the Romans had conquered all of Europe, there was a group of Celts up in the furthest reaches of the Roman Empire that could not be conquered, the Picts. And so the Romans built a wall, called Hadrian's Wall, that spans across Britain from sea to sea
В общем,
to keep
смотрим.
the Pictish barbarians at bay. The Picts were known for their war paint, painted on with woad, and their matted hair clumped with lime. And so Senua would be a barbarian Pict in this image.
Замечательная физика.
Senua,
I haven't seen you before.
I don't know how much.
Oh.
Это типа как в айфоне программа Иви.
Wait.
Orkney is off the coast of Scotland and was inhabited by the Picts, steeped in history and mystery, and so I made Orkney Senua's home and set the stage for a crisis. In the late 8th century, the first Vikings landed on
Мифология
the Orkney
пересекается с
Islands. The
реальностью.
population of the Picts crashed thereafter, replaced by the Norsemen of the 9th century. Were they wiped out? We don't know for sure, but it would seem likely given the reputation of the Vikings.
Говорит, ранее никогда не видели ни в одной игре.
High-ranking leaders and chieftains
Игра
of the tribes they
подстраивается
conquered
под
were often offered as sacrifice
уровень
to their gods.
сложности
The
ведения
most
боя.
brutal of these sacrifices was known as the Blood Eagle. I imagine Senua as a young female warrior who returns home from exile to find her partner, Dillian, brutally sacrificed to a Norse god by these hellish warriors from
Жестокая
faraway
жертва
land.
будет
Imagine the horror of
принесена.
this moment and how it would have dragged her
Senua
deep
должна
into
пожертвовать,
torment.
чтобы спасти своего этого возлюбленного. Короче, там суперхит. Говорил, зашквар у нее еще тот. Короче,
I
глюки.
came to learn that the Celts had a sophisticated and
И народ
nuanced
заранее
perspective on
извиняюсь за
nature and
спойлерки.
One
Спойлерки
term
тут
they used
неплохие.
was Gelt. A Gelt is a man or woman who has been driven mad by a curse, battle trauma, or grief. The Gelt would take to a life in the woods in search of penance, punishment, and purgation. And so Senua
Это
became a
эти
Gelt, cursed by
кельтские
darkness, looking for redemption in
хранители
the wild.
врат Хельмхейна. Этот Вальварн, бог
Another
иллюзий
word the Celts
и
used
бог
in
огня
reference
там
to
был,
mental
да?
disorders was
Вроде
truth,
бы.
meaning fool,
Чтобы открыть
or
врата
one
Хельмхейна.
who utters the words of God.
А вот,
They
собственно,
tell of
этот
the mad sinner who flees battle into
Вальварн.
exile and takes on a beastly nature,
Concept
growing
art.
feathers on his body. The character called Truth in Hellblade is based on a little-known person called Findan, an 8th century Irish Celt who was captured and enslaved by the Vikings, but eventually escaped to Orkney where he became a monk.
I will tell you my stories of hell.
Хочу тебе рассказать историю про ад,
With you.
который
Upon meeting Senua, it would be his stories
сопровождает,
that
следует за
led
тобой.
West deep into their world of gods.
Когда если долго смотреть во тьму, тьма начнет смотреть на тебя. Круто, круто. Физика вообще шикарная. Рагнарок. Близится.
For Ragnarok, for it is nigh.
So the stage was set for a new adventure, a journey into the
Not
Norse
motion
underworld
capture
called Hell,
технология.
a vision quest fueled by madness and myth, a fantasy that was created by Senua's own mind, and one that we would experience through her eyes.
This is your mission. This is your quest.
Красавица ты наша скандинавская.
To make a game about a warrior with psychotic mental illness,
Создавай
the
игру
central theme
про
was fraught with
воина.
danger. Mental illness, such as psychosis, is still taboo and rarely acknowledged in a century of cinema. Never mind the
Ага,
new medium of games. Where it
кинематографические
does
камеру
feature, it often
использовали.
conflates psychosis and psychopathy associated with a lack of empathy. It is unfortunate that these two words sound so similar that they are used interchangeably.
Вдохновлялись они.
I must admit that I didn't have to look very far to discover my own ignorance of the subject. So we reached out to Paul Fletcher, psychiatrist and professor of health neuroscience at University of Cambridge.
Консультировались
Psychosis is a
ведущих.
descriptive term, and it refers to having a loss of
Профессор
contact
Пол
with
Флетчер по
objective
психиатрии и
reality. So it's
психологии.
characterized by two main
У нашей героини
sets of
будет
symptoms. One of them is hallucinations, where
диагноз,
somebody
короче, в прямом смысле.
experiences perceptions when there is no actual objective thing out there to perceive. And the other is
Шизофрения она
delusions, where
будет
somebody
страдать.
comes to very often bizarre, unpleasant, frightening beliefs when there's no good evidence in favor of them.
There's no doubt about it. The source of the darkness is in Helheim. And the goddess Hela holds his soul there.
Да, погружение, короче, тут
We reached
атмосферно
out to welcome
зашкаливает.
biomedical research charity that
Зашкаливает.
spends billions on research and awareness programs aimed at improving health.
Mental health hasn't always been presented in the media in a way that is
По
particularly
контрасту.
helpful. It can be challenging to engage people with the subject matter, and there are a lot of preconceived
Раджин,
ideas about mental health,
креативный
particularly
партнер.
schizophrenia
Ага,
and
директор.
psychosis. So we hope our support allows the team to continue to collaborate with Paul Fletcher and with those who
Создавалась
have
небольшой
experienced
командой, в
psychosis
общем, этот
to create a
проект.
game that provides a fresh
И там вроде бы
perspective
1-2
on the condition and
художника
allows
участвовали.
audiences to engage with it in a way that just wouldn't be possible in any other medium.
What started out as a brief consultation convinced me that we were only scratching the surface of
Прототип
an immensely deep and
геймплея.
interesting
Да-да, они это
subject
показывали
that could
на
enrich and change the very nature of the
ютубе
game.
ранее.
Thanks so much for coming. Pleasure. Thanks. It's really interesting for me. I'd love to be involved. It's fascinating.
Our understanding of psychosis is still very much a mystery, and ways of treating it are still primitive compared to physical illness. After all, it is easy to see the pain and suffering caused by physical diseases or physical trauma. It is not so easy to see the mental suffering and trauma of severe mental illness. But what if we could find a way to see it? Games are capable of drawing you in for hours on end, playing the role of a character who is different from you, experiencing their perspective, and actively involving you in a world that functions with a different set of rules. If we were to represent Senua psychosis, we would have to simulate voice hearing, a common attribute. But how can we simulate something we
Использовали,
have no
симулировали
first-hand
голоса,
experience?
которые нас слышат.
Professor Charles Fernyhough, a leading expert in
помогал
voice hearing
нам
from
в этом,
Durham University, offered his help.
Профессор с
Hearing voices is an
университета
experience that is
Charles
usually associated with severe mental illness. And
Фермина.
crucially, we know that hearing voices is a part of ordinary life.
Симуляция вот этих голосов, которые нам будут слышать.
For mental illness.
Жесть. Жесть.
That's not him in real life.
We know voices vary according to where they appear in space. Voices can appear far away in the distance, they can appear right there in your ear, they can seem to be coming from inside your head.
В общем, протестим завтра, все простримим. Как оно? Думаю, будет весело.
The actors using a binaural microphone, which records the 3D spatial position of sound, replicating the way sound is heard by human ears. It gives you an incredible sense that the person you are listening to is right there beside you. Rachel Waddingham from the Voice Collective came to our studio with two young voice hearers to speak to our team. We talked at length about their experiences and they listened to our tests, giving us feedback on how we could improve on it.
Everyone hates her. She's cursed.
It's very hard to represent what this experience is like.
Очень сложно передать чувства, эмоции, которые переживает наша героиня.
Ninja Theory have been listening to what the researchers are saying, but also crucially listening to the experts by experience. What they've come up with is so compelling. It's by far the best representation I've heard of what these experiences are like.
Other common attributes of psychosis are visions and flashbacks. We met with Recovery College East, who work with and care for people recovering from severe mental disorders. A group of service users gave us their first-hand account of what they experience.
Говорит, новый опыт, новый experience.
The people we spoke to, the stories they told, were fascinating, harrowing, and mind-boggling. The reality of what people experienced was vivid, far exceeding what I could possibly have imagined. We went away itching to represent some of these visions and flashbacks in the game.
Все чувства, которые coming closer, близки нам, и все это время все звуки, да, биты. Цвета, яркость, тени. Огни, да. Иногда мир переживает через калейдоскоп этого мира. Когда я двигаюсь быстро и думаю, что мозг воспринимает это. Ощущение происходящего. Мысли плывут. Тип где-то в глубине, да? Deep inside.
To refine our work, we continue to hold meetings with
2015
recovery
года еще
colleges
разрабатывалось,
over
еще
the course
раньше.
of a year and a half, showing them what we had achieved so far and refining the in-game representations based on their feedback. With their help, flashbacks,
Фидбэк.
visions and changes in
Им
perception
очень
were
интересно
woven into the
мнение
story and
людей.
gameplay of Senua.
The students that are involved in this project are incredibly excited about being involved. They have described the experience as being important because it values their lived experience and shows that despite what we have been through, all of that experience becomes valid. That actually
Им очень
it's
важно
something
мнение
that we should all be
людей,
talking about.
когда они
Experiences described range
пользуются
from
при
beautiful to
разработке
frightening
данной
beyond
игры.
comprehension. I heard of a girl who has to live with an angry voice screaming at her, slamming on her doors and walls 24 hours a day.
Как она
And then
будет
someone who we often see hanging
усилия
corpses in the
свои
room, so real that she would sometimes try
при
to rescue
каждом
them. The panic
прохождении.
and fear that comes with
Ее
such
чувство
visions is
паники,
entirely
страха.
understandable, and it can be a living horror for some.
Worthless, weak, pathetic. Go on. Feel sorry for yourself because there is no
Короче, мне заспойлерили дневники
I was urged by one
разработчиков.
fellow that we should not shy away from showing this horror.
И не только
So
мне,
I was
нам
perpetually
всем.
torn in making Hellblade. Had we gone too far with our representations or not far enough?
Сломанный меч. Я уже на самом деле немножко видел. Да.
just like your sword.
In some ways, voice hearing and visions were the low-hanging fruit, so to speak. There's another aspect of psychosis that is much harder to explain, but one that I think video games are uniquely able to represent, which are often called delusions.
People begin to see patterns in the world. They begin to link things that most people wouldn't link. Most of the things that we might think would be coincidence or, not worth commenting on. Nevertheless, that might have a particular salience or importance for them.
One individual described how everyday words, sounds, colours and objects were steeped in meaning to him, forming a strange and sinister puzzle that he was determined to solve but could not quite get to the bottom of.
Есть головоломки разного рода.
It's not like the system shut down. It's actually an incredibly
Это
creative
им
process. The
помогал
person creates a
создавать
world
этот
populated with
профессор
voices
по
and
психологии,
phantasms and
психиатрии.
terrors, and they're completely immersed in it. They believe in it.
Они
We often invite people
верят,
into
что
the
это
studio to
поможет
play the
при
game. In one of our playtests, they played through much of the game, making
психически этим
associations
больным
between
при
runes, secret messages, and the threat of darkness that
лечении
stalked them.
таких
There are
головоломок.
many things that happen in the world of Hellblade that make
Что-то
perfect
типа
sense
того,
within the
короче.
context of Senua's mind. The dark rot that's killing her slowly from within, the secret runes of the gods that block her path to Helheim, and strange associations that exist in the game.
Странные
to confuse her.
ассоциации,
To complete Senua's quest, you have to internalize and accept the logic and meaning behind these things
решение
to progress.
головоломок и квестов.
Afterwards, they said that they didn't see much evidence of mental illness.
Мы видим главного
People with
продюсера
delusions of all
проекта,
sorts would argue the
Ninja
same thing,
Theory,
that they are not aware of their experience being abnormal in any way.
которые также создали Devil May Cry и Heavenly Sword.
Representing perception changes and
Enslaved.
thinking patterns within Hellblade gives us a set of symptoms common in psychosis. But people with lived experience were keen to emphasize another point, that it is wrong to define a person by their symptoms. Quite often, the illness comes not from the symptoms, but from the stigma, isolation and mistreatment that comes about from the rest of society.
Какие-то знаки, стигма, знаки.
They say that I'm cursed. What if they're right?
I needed someone to portray Senua, someone who could believably internalize her suffering. Melina Jurgens, our video editor, had been
Melina
standing for Senua
Jurgens.
over a few months while we
Ой,
perfected
это
our motion
актриса.
capture
Melina
techniques.
Jurgens.
Without realizing it, she had already auditioned for the role, and I knew her well enough to know that I
Ну, не
didn't have
такая
to
она
teach
уже
her
и
to act,
страшная на
but to
самом деле.
relive her own internal pain. As often is the case, those who have suffered mental anguish are never far from us. My hope is that by creating a compelling and aspirational character in Senua who feels very much real, albeit in a fantasy setting, we can provide a lens into her reality, a different one to yours, and this is where storytelling comes into play. I imagined her life based on common threads in real people's lives. She was always prone to psychosis as a child. Her mother Galina also heard voices and had visions, so perhaps there was
Она
a
встречает в Хельхейме эту
or perhaps it
свою
was cultural as she lived within a world without
душу
signs of gods and superstition, as exemplified by the
близких
Druid
людей,
father
так
symbol.
понял.
Psychosis developed in her late teens to early 20s and was exacerbated by stigma and isolation at the hands of the clansmen and her father.
This darkness. It's spreading.
The trauma of seeing her lover
Интересный
being
проект
sacrificed tips her
нас
over
ждет.
the edge, making her remodel her reality around a concept that connects everything.
Короче, Мирослав, готовься, будешь помогать.
So the question is, what Senua experiences real? Can only be answered by saying, yes, it is real. It is her reality.
Кто меня поддерживает. Будем пробовать стримить это дело. Думаю, будет жестко.
Towards the end of the project, service users and professionals that had collaborated with us were invited to see the near final game.
Июнь 2017 года. Последняя стадия проекта. А вот показано сзади Devil May Cry. Дженни Эссен. Какие все они пышные, эти разработчики их.
And it's meaty, and there are some tough subjects in there that are being tackled with honesty.
Они типа эти культуроведы, и походу они эти помогали им воссоздавать дизайн. Recovery College East. Это преподаватели, я так понял. При создании игры они помогали с более реалистичным, ближе к мифологии, к истории. Скорее к мифологии кельтской.
Hellblade will give people a good experience of what it's like to hear voices and have those experiences. I'm glad that the guys at Ninja Theory kind of asked us to come along and help to build an experience that's positive when it comes out, and get myself a copy and have a go.
Мы видим концепт-арты.
I think all the way through, I was really inspired by how the conversations have translated into the game in a way that I think I didn't imagine was possible. So
Трейси Бартлетт. Круто. Дерево, как с Dark Souls. С третьего.
Others will follow the lead they've set and use the power of something like a video game to change people's perceptions, to increase understanding, and ultimately to make some of the stigma around voice hearing and other experiences go away.
Новый опыт, говорится, создание новых впечатлений.
For me, it was really exciting to see something that I explore scientifically being represented
Научно объяснить научный подход к созданию.
The mysteries of the environment in which they've been placed, with all of this strange uncertainty and noise and conflicting information that they're getting. I'm very excited by this way of trying to represent mental illness, because I think it actually might be offering us insights that we wouldn't get from pure scientific explorations, and actually giving us quite an empathic view of what it might be like.
Физика вообще шикарная.
Mental illness has been with us for as long as we have been on this planet, but why? Why hasn't evolution stamped out this weakness from within our gene pool? I often pondered this question until I realized that the question had an inbuilt flaw. It assumes that being and thinking differently is a weakness. The only reason we have computers, spacecraft, medicine, poetry, art, and yes, even video games is because individuals are able to simulate new abstract realities in their minds and share them with
Симуляция реальности.
We need people to be willing to see differently in order for us to progress and survive as society. And we need to be open to these new ways of seeing. And it is this spirit that motivated me to create Senua's story and share it with you.
Разработчики открывают свои материалы. Ну, они уже их открыли. Игра уже вышла. 8 августа, если я не ошибаюсь. Если ты захочешь найти больше заходите на сайт www.hellblade.info. В общем, народ, вот такие у нас пироги. И сегодня же, ну, уже мы попробуем это все дело застримить. Ну, в общем, всем спасибо за просмотры. Ставим лайки, подписываемся на канал. И с вами был Джордж. И пока-пока.